Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Feartech, and I'm the Executive Director of Hartford Opera Theater. I thank you for being here to view our performance of Fortune's Children. What you'll be seeing is a recording of our final dress rehearsal. It was held on October 14th, 2020, as well as a short post-show discussion.
My name is Liz Miller, and I'm the Artistic Director of Hartford Opera Theater, where we passionately believe that opera is for everyone. We have worked really hard over the last 10 years since our founding to produce opera in the capital city of Hartford that is affordable, culturally relevant, diverse, and dealing with the topics that we are all dealing with in the world today.
Zoom opera seems very strange, or seemed very strange before 2020. But looking back, it's interesting the road that we've walked to kind of arrive at how to make opera in a pandemic. 2020 and coronavirus didn't usher in innovation into the opera world. It was as early as 2006 that the opera world knew it had to find a way to draw in a younger audience. And the Metropolitan Opera began its Live in HD program in 2006, which was a series of live opera performances transmitted in high definition video via satellite from the Met to movie theaters across the world. At the same time, small opera companies with grassroots fundraising efforts were working in America to innovate. And we saw the birth of festivals of mini opera, like our own New in November festival, which began in 2010.
New in November is the flagship performance that we do annually in Hartford. And as Michelle said, it started out in 2010 with this idea that we should really be promoting the works of new composers. And it turned out that there wasn't a company in Hartford or even in the state of Connecticut at all at that time that was prioritizing the works of new composers. And we designed New November to mimic a 24-hour play festival, which was kind of all the rage in the theater world at the time. So every spring, we release an international call for scores of 10 to 20-minute long operas, and we get submissions from all over the world. And this past year alone, we were lucky to receive 53 submissions. Our Cracker Jack submission committee goes through all of them, really thoughtfully considering the music and the stories of all of these operas, and selects what they feel is the most compelling and musically excellent 90 minutes of music that then we perform in a weekend long festival. So the 24-hour play festival adapted for opera needed to be expanded a little bit to include the musical element, but it's one of my favorite happenings of the entire year because it brings together 30 to 40 area artists, directors, composers, conductors, of course, singers, pianists, props, costumes, everything you would expect into the theater for this really dynamic and exciting weekend of music making. And we're so proud not only to bring that program to the Hartford area audiences and to promote the works of who we feel, are the best composers working today, but also to be providing employment opportunities for the excellent and I think unparalleled artists in the greater Hartford area.
In fact, that's where we met David Wolfson when he had applied for New in November showing of one of his earlier operas, and we'll tell you about that later.
Yes, and that's true. And really, I can't believe I didn't mention that just a second ago. But one of the other things that I love as the artistic director of New in November is that it gives us an opportunity to meet these wonderful composers and to have this little microcosm of an opera experience where we get to meet a lot of people who are doing really interesting and different things. And David Wolfson came to us in 2014 for the first time, and we'll talk more about him in a few minutes. But using New in November as this sort of speed dating opportunity where we get to meet a lot of different composers and then usher their works through various stages at Hartford Opera Theater has really been one of the highlights of being involved with Hartford Opera Theater.
Over the course of the decade from 2010 to 2020, there was lots of innovation and the use of technology bloomed all over the world. In 2015, London Royal Opera House began to experiment with virtual reality. And that VR content was designed to make the viewers feel immersed in the sights and sounds with a 360-degree view camera, as if they were there with the performers themselves. The use of projections became a regular, even in traditional opera. In 2015, also, San Francisco Opera organized an event called Barely Opera with a slogan, "This isn't your grandmother's opera." There was there was a live DJ, and audience members could spin a wheel to select the next song, and there were costumes for attendees to try on, and even opera themed drinks. And it was
Mhm.
designed to remove the intimidation often felt by those who were new to opera and to introduce a younger, hipper audience to the genre. That was also when accessibility became important in the opera world.
And accessibility has been something that Hartford Opera Theater has been working to improve in our own productions for some time. In 2017, we were really proud to produce Aaron Copland's The Tenderland, which we felt was like this perfect marriage of something old and something new. Copland's piece was written in the first half of the 20th century, but we brought it into our own time by, first of all, casting it in a thoughtful and diverse way so that the performers on stage would really look like our community in Hartford, Connecticut. But also, we were really proud to partner with the American School for the Deaf. And we cast the speaking role of the younger sister Beth as a deaf actress who was a student at the American School for the Deaf at the time. And we commissioned a sign language translation, if you will, of the piece where we had two wonderful sign language interpreters on the stage. And even some of our um, singers learned to sign so that they could communicate with the actress on stage during the production. And it was really amazing. We also were fortunate to collaborate with the Yale School of Drama, who loaned us their audio describe headsets, and we were able to use those for our sight impaired patrons. And we had Michelle up in the booth describing what was happening on stage as the opera was progressing. And before the show, we hosted a touch tour on stage so that those patrons could come up on the stage and feel elements of the set, so that they would really have a clear picture in their minds of what was happening while they were experiencing the opera in real time.
2017 was really interesting because Opera America began a grant program called Innovation Grants, funded by the Getty Foundation. And
Mhm.
companies really began to push the boundaries of real life and opera. In 2019, Opera Philadelphia premiered Dennis and Katya, which tells the real life story of two 15-year-olds who ran away from home in Russia in 2016, and they called themselves Bonnie and Clyde. And they staged a dramatic standoff with police and then died in apparent suicide while streaming the entire ordeal on Periscope. The staged version of this opera features projected words, including comments from viewers of the original Periscope stream, and a real WhatsApp conversation between the composer and director discussing how to put on the very performance the audience was watching. As you know, in 2020, our world came to a halt with coronavirus, which stopped all staged performances. Many froze and hid from the virus until we realized that technology would be the way for us to connect again. And there we looked to things that we had experienced already, like choral composer Eric Whitaker, who had created this world of virtual choir where we were watching 100,000 plus singers from all over the world come together on video. And we began to realize that recorded performances, uh, and the way we could put performances together on video would be a way for us to connect again. And as we started thinking about how to be innovative with this and come out of this moment of freeze with with coronavirus and how to move into productive times again for the arts. A conversation with David Wolfson sprung up.
So, as you recall, David Wolfson first came on the Hartford Opera Theater scene in 2014 when we produced his short opera Rapture for that year's New in November festival. And we loved it so much that when he sent us another opera the following year, we were on board. And so in both 2014, 15, and then again in 2016, we produced three of his short operas 3 years in a row. And then in 2017, we gave the world premiere of his piece, The Faith Operas, which was comprised of the three short operas we had already done, Rapture, Maya's Ark, and A Fine Invention. And for his dissertation project at the Mason Gross Conservatory at Rutgers University, David composed a companion piece for those four called Heaven's Gate, and the four of them together comprised the Faith Operas. Now, while the earlier three that we had performed as part of New in November's had been performed elsewhere when they were written, Hartford Opera Theater gave the world premiere performance of the four operas done together the way he had always conceived them. So that was a really proud moment for us to be able to stage this performance with a composer that we felt really great about promoting, whose work we love, and who we feel should be someone who is more well known on the opera and musical theater scene today. So David called us around May saying that he was thinking about putting together something on Zoom, an opera on Zoom. And Michelle and I were instantly interested because we love David and because we had just had a conversation about the fact that we were not going to be able to do the season we had planned for 2020, 2021, that we were going to have to scrap those plans like so many other theater and opera companies around the world were having to do at that same moment, and pivot to something that could be done online that would be safe for performers and safe for audiences. Back in May, we didn't know what was going to happen with COVID, and we thought to ourselves, even if we could figure out a safe way to have 40 artists in the theater to do New in November, would anybody come? Would we have an audience? And we had to make the decision that we thought, no, it would not be safe either for our artists or for our audience. And it turns out that unfortunately we were right. So we've postponed New in November 11. We are maintaining the winners of this past year's score call and are excited to have New in November 11 in November of 2021. And we decided to go with David on this journey that he brought us on with Fortune's Children, which you're going to see in a few minutes. And David, when he first pitched it to us, Michelle and I assumed that this would be a pre-recorded piece, that we would hire a few wonderful singers, that we would rehearse, and that we would essentially make a little opera movie that would then be shown over some social media or digital platform. And David said, no. This opera is going to be performed live over Zoom. And Michelle and I both went, but I have learned over the years that it's worth taking these little leaps of faith, because when I first heard that we were going to do a New in November festival in 2010, I thought it was the worst idea I had ever heard. So I always try to take a step back and decide, I'm going to say yes to this and see where it takes us. And Michelle felt the same way. And David designed a score that would work with the sound delays. And we brought on this wonderful cast that you're about to see, who are grappling with a situation that really hits all of our boxes as a company. The piece is culturally relevant. It is an issue that many of us are grappling with, especially around the holiday season. And we're bringing it to you in this very current and affordable format.
So stick around after you watch the opera and you'll see a short chat with the production team and the cast, and you'll get to know from David the question that everyone has, which is how do you write a Zoom opera where three singers in three different states are singing live over Zoom? So
Yes.
thank you again for being with us tonight. Follow us on the social media, the Twitter, the Insta, the Facebook.
We have them all, and we want you to follow us on all of them. So search for Hartford Opera Theater on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. Follow us, and if you ever feel so moved, 100% of the donations that are sent into Hartford Opera Theater go straight into our programming.
So thank you so much. Enjoy the show, and we'll see you soon.
What do you suppose he wants this time? How the hell should I know? He's your brother too. Why do you always think Chris and I are joined at the hip? Sorry. You and I have more in common than I do with him. We both move money around for a living, right? Sure, I move it in and out of banks. You move it in and out of your pocket, mostly out. Oh, very funny, Alex, very funny. How is the new business? What was it? Bleaches for pant dots? It's a cafe, you dick. And with my luck, the lockdown is probably gonna kill it. I can't catch a break in a goddamn basket. Oh, here he is. Hey, baby brother. Can you both hear me? Good. What was that all about? It's been a long day, a long week. You're not gonna like what I have to say, and this is gonna help me not care about that. Well, aren't you a sweetheart? Oh yeah, that's me, the black sheep of the family, the lone wolf, the workhorse, the dumb bunny, the goat. Oh, knock it off. What's your big news? One of you is gonna have to start taking care of Mom. Damn it, Chris, we have a deal. You can't just back out when you feel like it. You have responsibilities. Alex and I have families and high-pressure careers. We pay for Mom's house. You checked in on Mom and keep her on track. That was a deal. That is right. What are you trying to pull here? What is it this time? You're not going to jail again, are you? assume the worst, don't you? You know I'm working as a nurse's aide at Mercy.
What happened to the 7-Eleven? That was 3 years ago, Pat. Geez, pay attention.
It's only been a year. There was a gas station in between. But anyway, I'm working at Mercy now. And today we got our first case of COVID-24. First 3, actually. That means I've been exposed. And that means one of you is gonna have to start taking care of Mom.
What does that mean, you've been exposed? Do you have it? Are you sick?
I'm not sick yet.
Well, maybe you can still go over there, as long as you don't have symptoms.
Alex, no, don't you read the news? This is just like in 2020. They think you can spread it even if you don't feel sick. Besides, if this goes the way they think it might, I could be working longer hours than either of you ever did. They're talking about mandatory double shifts.
Hey, I've worked plenty of 16-hour days. You don't get some kind of award for that.
Listen to the working class hero who has it so tough. Who is gonna take care of Mom? She would love to see either of you.
Well, Pat, it's gonna have to be you, right? You said yourself the cafe most likely won't survive. No shame in that. Everybody knows how pandemics blow everything to hell. Get out early instead of sinking with your ship. You can spend the time with your kids and Mom will be taken care of, and you can start a new venture when the lockdown's over.
Like hell am I abandoning the stream. This cafe is built on my sweat and sleepless nights, and I will not just walk away. There are people who need these jobs I made, and I will not just cast them aside like trash. No, you listen to me. You can just crawl down from your castle in the sky and get some dirt on your hands for once. I am so sick of your shit. I am so sick of playing second fiddle to Alexander the Great.
That is not fair. Is this the thanks I get for funding your first business?
With a loan, not a gift, and none of my other ventures.
Well, maybe if you had made all your payments on time. I'm not an ATM.
I am tired. I am tired from you. I am tired from life. I am tired from doing all the work of getting us to be a family. All these years since Dad left. How old were we?
I was 10.
I was 9. And I was 7.
God, that was a terrible time. The way Mom sat and never moved. The dull gray way she looked.
And you two pretended nothing was wrong.
I seem to recall we harassed you more than was strictly necessary.
That's one way of putting it, yes. I still have the fortune from that fortune cookie.
I still have mine too somewhere.
What are you talking about?
It was the 1-year anniversary of Dad. Remember, Mom was catatonic and we got hungry, and you took Mom's credit card and ordered Chinese takeout.
And we all decided our fortune cookies were really how our lives would go. All right. What were yours again?
You will be a success.
Mine said, you can make your dreams come true. You don't have yours anymore, Chris. Now I remember, I burned it years ago, but I remember what it said.
And what was that?
Be kind.
That wasn't really an even deal, was it?
We've never had an even deal before or since.
I guess that's true.
Look, it's not your fault what Dad did to me. And Mom blaming me. That's not. We could have said something. We could have done something. You were kids, just like I was.
theoretically have been for some time.
Theoretically.
Theoretically. How often have you been checking in on Mom, Chris?
Every day.
I guess I know that. Okay, I can go out there maybe 4 days a week if I can get Cindy to take the kids a little more, and if one day is a weekend. My quarantine is pretty strong, it should be safe. Pat, do you think you could cover the other 3?
If I have to. I mean, yes, of course, of course. Good talk, people. I'll write up my checklist with her medications and all, and email that to both of you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have another shift starting in 6 hours. I need to get some sleep.
Chris, do you want to just, I don't know, quit this job? I could pay your bills for a while.
Didn't see that coming. I appreciate the offer, and maybe if it's still open in a few months, we could talk. But a pandemic doesn't seem like the time to quit a job at a hospital. You know what I mean?
Is there anything else we can do to help?
Be kind.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm taking a second to gather our team, and we can come out for a Q&A whenever you're ready. Come on back. So I want to invite you in the audience tonight to offer your questions, anything that you want to know about the process or the product, our whole journey. You can either use the Q&A feature or you can use the chat box, and I'll monitor both. In the meantime, I'm interested on behalf of everyone, David, in how you came up with this idea and how does one write an opera for Zoom?
I started first started thinking about this opera back in March when I, like everyone else in higher education or in education in general in this country, suddenly were teaching on Zoom instead of in classrooms. And I teach musicianship at Hunter College. I was luckily not one of those who were suddenly had to run rehearsals remotely, but I did have to deal with some of the ins and outs of how to make music in this platform where there is a lag, where you cannot synchronize between any two people at the other end. So it became, both started thinking about that and became fascinated with this new space we were all suddenly inhabiting, this new planet we were all on, and what would it be like to tell a story in that medium. And that sort of sat and rattled around in my brain until sometime after the Black Lives Matter protests began, late spring, early summer, and it had become evident in New York how vulnerable essential workers were in the pandemic during the height of it, when New York was the epicenter. And it was just sort of one of those pop light bulb moments. Oh, this is the story to be told on Zoom. The story of an American family from three very different places in society. And from there, it was the matter of just the logistics. I sold this to Liz and Michelle with a very confident air, figuring that I knew I'd be able to figure out something. And of the 4 ideas that I think we had about how to make this work, 2 turned out to be impractical, 1 turned out to be impossible, and there was 1 left. And that was the one we used, which was to use a pre-recorded track with cues, although not much rhythm, to synchronize the singers.
I meant to introduce everyone as everybody came out so we could do some form of bows, and I skipped right into the good part and get the questions. So I just want to introduce who, and I'll go in the order of my Zoom boxes. And so Moira O'Sullivan is our director for this production. We will have a question for her a little bit later. Of course, you know by now David Wolfson, composer and librettist. And I have to introduce as Alex, Darius, Gillard. As Chris, Thao, Nguyen. And as Patrick, Markel Reed.
So I would love to know from our singers, what were there any surprises? Were there any learning curves for you in learning this? And what did you find that you didn't think you would find in this process? Darius, you're the oldest brother. Why don't you go first?
Learning curve, I don't know that there was an extreme learning curve as far as the actual pitches and rhythm. I think that David did an amazing job of writing for the voice, and where we had issues, where I had issues specifically, he was kind enough to work with me on that so that I didn't have to bend myself into some strange shapes to sing this music and be understood singing this music. I think the most challenging thing I would say is making sure that it gets timed the way that it should, and making sure that the music fills the amount of space that it's supposed to fill. Again, he did a really great job of writing it in a way that you don't have to work too hard on that, but this is the first project that I've ever done like this, so there was a little bit of adjusting that needed to be done.
I guess I will go next. I actually came later to the project, and so I think, about to say Chris, Thao and Darius had a little more time to synthesize some of the parts before actually coming together and singing. So I guess that was my initial challenge, was just kind of catching up. And after getting a sense of just the flow of the piece, making sure that I let the dramatic beats fall where they're supposed to. That is something that is very important to me, making sure that the intention is there and it's not just music, it's not just filling the space of whatever the music demands, but also the text, and making sure that I slow down the thought process of whatever, so that I don't react before I hear something, and I don't act before I say a specific line. So for me, that was probably one of the challenges, just slowing down the process and not thinking that I need to rush through everything because I had come later to the process.
I want to reiterate what Darius said about the composition. It's like this whole piece is a long recit, and with recit, they play the chord, and you take whatever time you need, and then you come back in again. It's the beauty and the intelligence of the piece where, with the lag, I call it jet lag, of the internet. Sometimes the cues aren't exactly the same, and it's the fun part for we as the performers to be like, oh, gotta jump my cue, so this intention will be different today. Or sometimes, oh, let me back off a little bit because we're taking a little more time today. So I found that very fun.
Maura, how was the experience for you? How is it different to direct a Zoom opera from directing a regular face-to-face, in-person stage piece?
Oh, it's very fascinating. I've learned a lot in this process because this is sort of, I call it a little opera movie because we are in close-up in a way that you never really get to, no matter how small your black box is, wherever you're performing. So that intimacy was really exciting to me. And, you have to adjust how you normally work. I normally am really physical. So sitting here and just trying to communicate without that was funny to me. But I think as far as the process, it's all storytelling no matter what you're doing. And now instead of saying cross stage right, I'm saying loosen your tie and take a drink. And that will read as much with as much impact in this format as it would otherwise. So I think it's a cool way to make the audience feel like they're really in the room with these characters. They're a fly in the wall on the Zoom call. And I think that's really awesome.
You're muted, Michelle.
And so I'm looking at the questions. Any questions from the chat or the Q&A? But there aren't any tonight. So I think we've covered all the things about this beautiful evening. And I just want to say again, I so appreciate all of you for taking the time to be with us and to be inquisitive about what it means to watch a Zoom opera and to sit down and just kind of dig in with us and experience something new. Even though we're in a time when we can all feel really separate, there are certain moments when we can all come together and see our common bond. And, one of those is through art. And another one is through these common experiences in a family setting and something that we're all dealing with every day. So our strength is sent to you, and we just are very grateful. If you wouldn't mind following us on all the socials, then you can keep track of what we're doing. On the Insta and the Facebook. And so we say goodnight to you, and thank you so much. Have a great evening, and we hope to see you back with our next production.